Why did you just do that?
So we can add functions, and we can also subtract functions. X minus 3x is 2x plus 2. If they're not like terms, you can't put them together. Like, you just subtract them, and that's it. Don't forget to subtract everything. Yes? We're feeling good about that.
You had nothing to be ashamed of.
And they're ashamed because you're all going to go and have your parents listen to it. That's why they're ashamed.
Now we'll just travel.
There'll be no record of it, though.
Well, because we did that, it makes us all remember it more, and I just...
Yeah, it's gonna, I'm gonna be like an 80.
It's alright. Someone will probably be offended because I talked about breastfeeding in class, and I'll get in trouble, so.
I'm so offended. Why would you do something so nasty? Healthy for your baby.
I know. Your people are offended, though. When you multiply, this is not the open circle thing that Vaughn remembers from last year. This is not function composition. It's just multiplication. I don't know why my multiplication dot is so gigantic, but it's just multiplication. So you just take f of x times g of x. Sometimes you might have to FOIL. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do anything because they don't go together. But in this case, I could take 3x times x and get 3x squared. 3x times 2 would be 6x, and that would be then multiplied together.
So when would we come to
I don't know. Not in this section. I don't really go that far ahead of you guys. I'm not that good of a teacher.
That's all right.
Dividing, you divide the two, and that's probably the one that you probably have the least amount of work to do, but that's the one that you really got to pay attention to your domain, because notice when you make a division problem, you are putting something in the denominator. So you really have to make sure that we talk about the domain there. Maybe we should go back and talk about the domain of all of these in a second. But if I just divide x plus 2 over 3x, can I simplify that anyway? You can't break up addition subtraction. The only thing you could do is if you could factor something in the top and bottom, but you can't do anything here. So that's just your answer. But we would want to say, what couldn't x be in this division problem? 0. And so on your homework, when it says add, subtract, multiply, divide, it also says find the domain for them. And so this is the one that you really have to think about. And I'm just going to put next to this, my domain is everything but 0. Or you could say from 0, no, what would that mean? Negative infinity to 0, 0 to infinity, with a little u there. I didn't really do a good job on all the other ones, but let's go back for just 1 second. What's the domain of f of x? This is not a square root or a fraction, right? So it's all real numbers. What's the domain of 3x? If your first two functions are all real numbers, when you add them together, is it still going to be all real numbers?
Yep.
And when you subtract them, is it still going to be all real numbers? Yeah, so on these, on my example here, the domain on all of these are just negative infinity to infinity. Why am I doing that? I'm like combining set notation with interval notation and making up the wrong thing. Negative infinity. I know. Sorry.
Wait, why is it negative infinity?
All real numbers, right? Right, like negative infinity to infinity. Or you can say x is a real number. Right? And same thing when you multiply. So maybe you want to look at your domain first, see what it is before you go on with that. All right, so maybe we should do one like on the homework, just real quick. That's why we'll start with just this.
You're still having a heart attack.
So this is what your homework says. The 3 problems that I give you say, for the given functions, find the following, and for parts A through D, also find the domain. No, because we're going to do this. No, because we're going to be done in like 5 minutes if we can stay on track and quit talking about my life in my car.
What in the what?
My life in my car.
No, so what do you do?
Yeah, what are we talking about before?
Nothing. Being a distracted driver.
I wasn't here.
You just have to add these, subtract these, multiply them, and divide them. And 2 of the 3 that I give you are just like this. Like they're just kind of like linear or polynomial functions that you can just put together. And then one's a little bit uglier, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that on Monday. But if we add these together, I'm just going to add them together, right? I'm just going to say I get x minus 1 plus 2x squared. Can I put any of that together? That's my answer. That's what f plus g of x equals. If I subtract f minus g of x, I'm going to get x minus 1 minus 2x squared. Can I put any of that together? Nope, that's my answer. I don't know why I'm crying about my homework so much. Oh yeah, we're going to go back to my domain. I was going to do it. Just for a through d. But here's a nice thing. What's the domain of x minus 1? What's the domain of 2x squared? So what's the domain of the adding and subtracting and multiplying going to be? The only one you really got to worry about is the division, because that's when you move an x to the bottom. So I can say that the domain here is all real numbers, and the domain is all real numbers.
So our homework really means that we think
You're only doing the domain for the first four, because I'm going to show you what the next four are in a minute, which isn't so bad either. Just use your calculator, so just hold on. Or use your brain, if you prefer. If I multiply these, that's one you do have to do a little work on. You would get x minus 1 times 2x squared, and that would just be 2x cubed minus 2x squared. Can't do anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I just
Domain is all real numbers. And when you divide that, x is the numerator, 2x squared is the denominator. But you do have to pay attention to your domain. We move that 2x squared to the bottom, so what can't x be now? 0, because there's no addition subtraction down there. If x is in your bottom, is everyone with me that 0 can't be in your denominator? So my domain is going to be everything but 0, which if you want, you could just say x is not allowed to equal 0. I'm not opposed to set notation. It's honestly probably easier, less mistakes than interval notation. All right, you with me on that part? So what's the rest of this? Now they're just going to ask you to plug a number in for this. So I just want to make sure that we knew what we were doing on this. But they say now find f plus g of 3. What do you think that means to do? Put in 3 where? For x for part A, right? Like we already did f plus g. So all you have to do now is plug 3 in there and give me the answer. That's not so bad, right?
Yeah.
We're crying about nothing.
that's pretty fair.
So for this one, if I plug 3 in there, I'm going to get 3 minus 1 plus 2 times 3 squared. And honestly, my calculators, you can type that in all at once and it'll give you the answer. No brain work required.
So,
But without a calculator, that would be 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21 minus 1 is 20. Is that right? So you get number answers for these. So that's why the directions say only give me the domain for A through D, because these are just numbers, not functions anymore. So if I do f minus g of 4, I'm just going to go up here to the f minus g, and I'm just going to plug 4 in there, and I get 4 minus 1 minus 2 times 4 squared. See how much math my brain can do today. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. So 32 and 1 is negative 33. Plus 4 is negative 29. Is that right? Would anyone even tell me if I was wrong?
I don't know, because I think.
Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
that's our last example.
This is our last example. F times g of 2, I already did f times g, so now I'm just going to plug 2 in there and get 2 times 2 to the third minus 2 times 2 squared. Man, that's a lot of 2's. So that's really going to be 8 times 2, which is 16 minus 4 times 2, which is 8, which I think is just 8. And then this one, if I plug 1 in there, I get 1 minus 1 over 2 times 1 squared. I get 0 on the top, so does it matter what I get on the bottom?
No.
It's just 0. But if you get a fraction, don't be scared. See, that's not so bad, kids. And you have like 10 minutes to work, and you only have 3 problems. So you should get 2 of those done for sure.
So you should get 8 done.
You should get 16 done. Look how fast we just did that, and that was with me going slow.
Yeah, I have my own.
Take a nap. Can I borrow Halloween?
You can have that. Happy Halloween. You can touch your myself. 63, 66, 69.
I used the no drugs one. It was pretty good.
I don't like the
Yeah, I use another card.
You're gonna lose a no card at Walmart.
No, no, put it in my pocket. If anything, I can text Sawyer. And be like, hey, Sawyer, what was the homework?
Why don't you copy the number 60?
You lost the book and don't think for how to
What's wrong, Rachel? Oh my gosh, you're cutting your hair.
No, it's just a little piece.